Good evening. The Who's today were on at Canterbury Park and didn't play greyhoundish today at all. Um, the rail was in a 8 metre position, eight metres out. Track was good, and I think I might have mentioned um, just a while back that there's only one wind at um, Canterbury that affects the leaders. It has an effect on results, and that was the win today. And it's treating the track as looking at a clock. It was the wind was 4 o'clock across to 10 o'clock, a nor'wester. So runners down the back straight, if you're leading on the fence, you're running directly into the wind and hitting you on the side. And then as soon as you went out of the back straight, you again ran into it, which helped horses coming from behind. And we saw a lot of swoopers win there today. And the other factor is, surprisingly, when the rail is out at Canterbury and 8 metres out, it doesn't have the effect. You'd think it'd be the opposite, but it's not. The outside generally is a bit better, and they can come from behind a bit easier. So those two factors came into play today. The perfect win. When the wind comes out of the southwest at Canterbury, and it doesn't matter whether it's blowing a gale, don't take any notice of it. You think the horses will be running into it down the back straight, but because of all the buildings and houses and so forth at the back of the straight, and plus all the trees there, in the back straight, you might be in the paddock looking at the winning post, looking at the run, the race, and the wind cutting you in half. But over the back straight, they had plenty of wind cover. As I say, today's wind is the one that has effect. Now, the favourite in this first race, no more for the favourite. In this first race, the favourite, it's a done deal. Well, I suppose the only reason I got home was the bias. It settled down in second last position, and ridden by the champion New Zealand rider McDonald, came down the outside and beat a 20-to-1 chance, which would have been a great result for the captains. Double halo right on the line. The favourite, when they jumped, I was $2.30. Went up $5.90 or evens, and got out to $2.25, which was taken to 2.20, 2.10. It got back to 2.30 at the death. I laid it for plenty, but I also laid the second pick, the shooter, who was extremely well backed. Finished up running third, the shooter. It led on the fence, ridden by Nash, and he said at the 600-metre mark the saddle shifted back on him and he was disadvantaged from that point on. And it also led on the fence, as I say, and ran into the wind. So its effort, only to be beaten 0.9 of a length, was extremely good. So if the track would have been, the wind wouldn't have been there, and track was, and the rail where it was, dare say that it would have been a very easy win to the shooter. And $5 was given, and only started $3.50. On the screen in the first race, they said 110, but it was in the marketplace a lot less. There was only 101. Wasn't much good. There were lots of runners in this race that didn't have names, without going through them. But as I say, the winner started 2.30 on my board, and that was the best price given on the track. $5 was given about the shooter, only started $3.50, and third pick was the Sweet Talking Woman. They did take $7. Well, I saw $8. $8 was given in the outer. They did take $7 off me at the death for 6 monkeys about it. But I laid the shooter. I might have laid 6 for 2, and I laid plenty against the favourite, as I say. But the bias was the factor in the favourite getting home there. Race 2 on the screen, 103.9 in the marketplace, a lot skinnier, under the 100, 97% only. This race was won by the favourite Black Jag. Terrible result for me. It was opened up $3. I couldn't reach for it quick enough. Got to $3.50. only started the 6 to 4, $2.50. They took $2.60 off you at the death, so it's extremely well backed, and it got a good run, ridden by Jason Collette, another New Zealander, in the 1-1 position. And when they turned for home, the horse that led on the fence and ran into the wind, Speed Queen, who was going to be ridden quieter today, and there was Quiz Wide actually led, but when Trojan Destiny missed the kick, and Beaveroo also went back from barrier 1 after copying a check at the start, and something else didn't go forward, the rider, Sam Clipperton, said he had no alternative but to go straight to the lead, which he did, ran into the wind, and it got beat 6.8 lengths. Wind took care of it. And as I say, the favourite, it sat in the 1-1 position. When they turned for home, just eased around the horse who was on the outside of the leader, Ad Victorium, and he was full bore all the way from that point to win by 1.5 lengths, and to beat Ad Victorian, who's pretty Kleiner. So the form out of this race is no good. And coming from well back in the race after pulling on the rider, Southern Shimmer, when he was it started to pull on the kid down the back straight, and he let it stride. Instead of going forward and keep on going, he got trapped, and he was 5 wide when they hit the bend going out the back straight, and stayed in that position all the way to the turn. And he was actually he got a 3-week holiday for not riding it out. He got beat at 0.1 of a length, not getting second. He ran third, beaten 1.6. So, but I suppose you run the race again. How the betting finished. Well, the favourite might be a little bit longer because of Trojan Destiny not going forward, and we don't know whether the race could have been and run a bit different. But anyway, we won't know that. And the punters, and especially the pros, who had a large plate. Oh, they had a large plate. They licked around the edges there. They had a large plate of that favourite and got the cash. Race 3. Now, I must say, I didn't get my whack here. Now, on the screen, it said 95.2 on the screen. If you back them all best luck, you can't lose. Just find your bookie. Back them all. So I'll back every runner best luck to win 100,000. You win 4,800. Anyway, in the marketplace, of course, there was a lot less, 89%. Now, the favourite in the race was the Firma, and it was Spurs and Sashes, ridden by James McDonald, and it went up evens and got out to $2.35. Might have even got better in the outside ring, but it did start the $1.80, 5 to 4 on, laid on. I suppose it wasn't laid on, but it was 5 to 4 on when they jumped. Now, in this race, one of the reasons why it firmed so much was the opening second favourite for Aquira, trained by Gay and ridden by Nash. It didn't have a price. It went up $2.80 second pick, and it only got out to $6. It was 7 to 4 to 6 to 7 to 4 to 5s, and Nash early in the piece, he was going to be trapped wide, and instead of being stuck out there, Nash said, "Well, I've got to go forward, my son." And he did, and he used nearly all the petrol that was in the tank. And he finished up crossing the leaders. One of them, it led on the fence. One of them early on was 5 Rocks, and also the favourite. He went around the both of those, found the fence, and he finished up running 5th, only beaten 2.5 lengths. So the effort was pretty good. It's a little bit dour, that horse. So it'll win races. As I say, there was very little petrol left coming to the turn, and it stuck on fairly well. This was a result for bookies, although I did firm in the on the screen, $31 given on the fence, and it did start only $21. It settled down last, the winner, Hoy Bell, and a really fast pace set up front, which I've already said after the Aquira crossed, and then the favourite. He got to his outside on the turn, Spurs and Sashes, and got past Nash. And the second horse, 5 Rocks, who drew barrier 1, Karen McAvoy, it's easy now. It looked like he had pulled the wrong string, but at the time, he had to ease around the 2 runners that I've talked about. heels and got to the outside of them, and that's where the winner finished up going. It went in between Vaquera and Spurs and Sashes, and it got the chocolates talking about Hoy Bella, who I mentioned. 31 was given out. He started 21, opened up 14, got to 31, back into 21. It was hard ridden, a clear last, never left the fence. It was slightly held up turning for home, and it got the run, as I say, where the second horse could have gone, but at the time, it's easy now, but he hooked around their heels and it stuck on well 5 docs. It would have been a fair result for bookies. It opened up 14 and got out to 20, back into 17. And coming down the outside, Windbender, who was a bit wide and copped a little bit of jumped awkwardly and copped a little bit of a prat, and it came right down the outside in the better section of the track with the spinnaker out down the outside. The margins were 0.5 by 0.7. The favourite finished up running fourth, beaten 1.5. And as I said before, it ran fifth for Vaquera, 2.5 lengths away. The other 3 runners were well back. Yes, well, the captains there, they got the satchel got them out of the big house. The figures were absolutely disgraceful. They got snowed in with the favourite, but the satchel proved a winner. Race 4, we saw plenty of per here, 112.8 on the screen. In the marketplace, at top odds was 108. There was plenty there, but unfortunately, seldom things are what they seem. Skim milk masquerades as cream. And there are a couple of runners here, like number 8, Oompa Loompa. It opened up $6, 5 to 1, maybe 11 to 2, but it got to $12 unlayable. By the same token, the winner, King Cobia, it was a bit easy in the market, but $6.50 was taken. It opened up $4 to $5, and it got out to $6.50, taken into 6 in late. Now this is a race, of course, where King Cobia finished up winning the race. I'll tell you about it in a minute. But this is the race where the favourite, Charge Count, who was third across the line, was disqualified. Was ridden by McDonald. He finished up. He got suspended over it from the 8th of sort of can ride over the wire on Carnival and Saturday, I suppose. He's disqualified, or not disqualified, suspended from the 8th until the 23rd of September, on which day he can ride. And he weighed out with the he weighed out with the breastplate and the girth cover, but unfortunately, when going back in and getting whatever he had to do, the breastplate and the girth saddle weren't there. So that was where the 800 grams went, and unfortunately, the poor bugger has had to pay cop a holiday over it. It ran third, as I say, across the line, and was very short odds. This horse, very short odds, and it was disqualified. Of course, the horse that ran fourth, which was Tralafaz, it's now it goes into that third hole. Anyway, the fluctuations on this favourite, Charge Account, it went up $1.50 in the outside ring. It was there for a good while, but they laid you $1.45 on. It started $1.30. They laid the $1.45. They laid the $1.50, 45, the $1.40, and the $1.35 on. It started $1.30, and it sat third on the fence, Charge Account, and well, the wind would have been hitting it down in the face down the side, but by the same token, the horse that led and finished up taking his position in the race from Travelers, it led in the race and was only beaten 4.7, about a length and a quarter behind it. So the favourite's run wasn't that good anyway. Anyway, it was a very good result for the bookies. The winner, King Cobia, having his first start for Gay and Nash, it could have been a blessing in disguise. When the gates opened, it was a quick clear last, missed the kick by 2 lengths, and then and Nash went from an inside alley barrier 2. He went up along the fence, but after they went out the back straight, he was able to get off heels, and by the time they got into the straight, he'd eased to the outside and he sprinted very fast down the outside, and won very well. And he beat a horse called Complicate, who was 3 wide in the run in about 6th position on the back of another runner, LA Flash, who was 3 wide outside the leaders. But he had that was the best part of the track and had the cover. But you can't take anything away from the winner. The winner was showed a good turn of foot, and it was a very strong win. There was a bit of interference in the race to a few runners, but it wouldn't have made any difference to the result. The bottom one, August, had barrier one, and when they turned for home, he was on the fence, Rodney Quinn, and he hasn't got a run yet. It was held up a couple of times, should have finished a lot closer. Race 5, we saw 107.8 on the screen, but only 99% in the marketplace. The first 3 horses around the turn here, they ran 1, 2, 3, and the favourite finished up running second. It led on the fence, Hyperpower, and I had it leading on my map on the fence, and therefore running into the wind. So I stood it for a little bit more section than I generally do, and I suppose I'm lucky to get away with keeping the section, because it only went down by 0.3 of a length. Sitting on us outside was the winner, Saint La Bomba. I'll go back to the flux in a minute. And sitting 3 wide outside the pair was the third horse, Tsar of Yangri, and the margins were only 0.3 by 0.5. Running fourth in the race was the horse from down Canberra way, Asclepios, and it hasn't got a run yet. It's sat third last on the fence, ridden by Kay Sweeney. He had barrier 9, but he found the fence on it, and he's a very, very good rider, this fella. He's no spring chicken, and he's got perfect balance. Doesn't seem to hit them hard, but he can give them a clout when he wants to, and he's, as I say, a very, very good rider. Never be afraid to put your cash on him. He can steer, and as I say, he's been around for a long time. If it might have got a run, it very well might have won the race. But anyway, I suppose the best run in the race was the favourite, Hyperpower. It went up about 355 to 2, got to 370 and 380, and it only started the 6 to 4. It was extremely well labelled. The pros, they had a large plate of it. By the same token, the pros did find the winner as well. Was always firm in the market, Saint La Bomba. Went up $4, got to 460. Never worse than 440. Never worse than 440. But if you went to 460, you most certainly laid it. And although it could have started that price, but if you were at 460 at 2 stages of betting, and there were punters there to take it off you. There were runners in this race, even though there was only 99%, it was hopeless. Champing, it went from $5 to $7. Blink and Swift never had a price, $13 to $31. Dymo, I found it very hard to lay, favourite of the stablemate of the Avery, Hydropower Dymo. It went from $5.50 to $11.50. Carve 'em Up never had a price, 15 out to 21. Told you about the favourite. Asclepios, it was backed. Asclepios, it was backed. $18 given, $19 given. Started 17. Already told you about Saint La Bomba, 460 you lay it. And the bottom one, Tsar of Yangri, who ran third, $15 was given, opened up 10, $10, 9 to 1, got out to 14 to 1, $15, and only started $11. I suppose, as I said before, Hyperpower, the way the track played, tight against the fence, running into the wind, was most probably the best run, and they were a bit stiff not to get the chocolates. Race 6, we saw on the screen a very, very skinny 100.6. So in the marketplace, it's always less. 93 in the marketplace. Now, this similar to earlier on when Nash came down the outside on King Cobia, this winner, it could have been a blessing in disguise. Tight face. Whether it was by design or not, I don't know. It did miss the kick, and he said that and copped a bit of a check at the start. So I suppose it wasn't by design. But James McDonald rode this winner, tight face, extremely well backed, $9.50 given at one stage into $6.50, back out to $7.50. But they SP'd at $5.50, but it was $6 when they jumped. And as I say, it missed a kick, copped a bit of a prat at the start, and settled down in second last position. When they turned for home, they'd gone at a good pace up front. He simply eased off their heels, and the horse sprinted very, very quickly down the outside, and it went away, and it won by 1.8 lengths. I wonder that day when it was first seen here at Warwick Farm after coming from Melbourne, when it led and Paul Perry's horse won the race by a nose. I've got the, I'll just figure his name. What was his name? I'll tell you. Zara was Henry. I can't be bothered right there. It typeface. I can't even find the race. Don't worry about it. But it, I got around was the horse, and I got around, won the race by a nose, and this led. And then its next start at Warwick Farm, the funny thing, it stayed close to the fence where the going wasn't really good, and it picked them up very easily today. There were a few runners backed in the race. The top weight Kroner resuming from a long spell, $80 given, only started 26, and it said it was always in last position and ran in that position. The favourite, Smart Patrol, unfortunately Nash got trapped 3 wide on it. It was easy in the betting. They returned at 330 SP. It was 350 when they jumped. At one stage they killed you for $2.80. I got a bit of section out of that price. Went up $3. Smart Patrol into, as I say, 280. Might have even touched 270 at one stage, but did start $3.50. It got trapped 3 wide and it ran second last, beaten 5 lengths. It's not very big, and I think it's very limited. Midnight Ascot, who was resuming, it had every possible chance. It ran third. It was in between runners in 5th position. It flucked from about $5 out to $7, hard to lay. Mount Verdi, it was backed $21 out to 31, back into 26. The winner, I've already told you, $9.50 given the winner. SP'd 550, you get 6 when they jump. All About Glory, who led on the fence and ran into the wind, so we can forget about its run. It was easy in the betting, went from $5 out to $9, back into $8.50. Smart Patrol, I've already said. Nash Rambler would have been a great result for me. Nash Rambler went up out short about $5, $4.60 even. Got out to $8 at one stage, started $7.50. And the bottom one, believe it or not, Star Helicon, $7 was given in the outside ring. $7, $6 on the rails, plenty of it, 7 in the outer. Started $4.80. It was an easy way for me. I should have jerried by then, but he had barrier 2, and he was on the fence behind the leaders, and he never got touched, and he ran what's that for? He ran 6th, beaten 3.7, but being on the fence, and I suppose the wind hitting him on the side in the back straight didn't help. But by the same token, he didn't even get past the leader, All About Glory. So its run wasn't that good. As I say, I wonder whether missing the kick helped the winner, where it was up near the lead its last 2 starts. Most probably did. Then we came to the last, and we saw the favourite, Sorrelina, who finished up running last, beaten 7.3 lengths. There are plenty of excuses. The big excuse, of course, is she bled, unfortunately, and now she'd be banned for 3 months. Bookies reached for her, but at the finish, it was poleaxed by the pros and all punters. It went up short odds, about $1.60, but bookies reached for it, as I say, got to evens, and going back to race 6, I think I told you, it's 100.6 on the screen, only 93 in the ring. In this race, there was 100 in race 7, 100.6 again on the screen, but there was only 95 in the in the marketplace. Went up $1.60. Sorrelina got to evens on the fence. Got to evens. They took the evens, and then they laid you the 10 to 9 on. They laid you the $1.85 on, the $1.80 on. They laid you the $1.75 on. They laid you the $1.70 on. and it was into $1.65. I was trying to lay it for a little bit more at the finish. I had a fairly good book. I was $1.70 when they jumped, and I stood it for something, and finish up winning a little bit on the race. The winner, Megiddo, well, going back to how the race was run, Sorolina, she was always going to lead from barrier 3, and she went straight to the lead. He knew about the wind, I'd say, McDonald, and he didn't set a fast tempo, and he always stayed 3 off the, well, not 3 off the fence, but at least 2 off the fence when they hit the first bend. And the winner, Megiddo, it was directly behind it. And at any stage, which finished up happening, of course, Megiddo could have gone inside the favourite, down the back straight, or if he wanted to, but he wouldn't naturally, or halfway around the circle, but he preferred to hook in behind it and get wind cover, the brilliant Brendan Abdullah, and he got the wind cover. But when they turned for home, when the favourite hung, there was no alternative but for Abdullah to go inside the favourite, and when he did, it's got a good turn of foot on top of the ground today, and it sprinted, and the race was over in 1.5 hippity hops, and it finished up winning by 2.3 lengths. When the favourite hung slightly, it caused a little bit of interference to Tennessee Love, who was sitting on its outside, but that didn't prevent it from finishing any closer. The fluctuate, as I say, both the favourite bleeding and running into the wind. Well, there were excuses for it. The others, Tennessee Love, as I say, sat outside the lead. Outside the winner coming to the turn was Coins, had every possible chance. Anito had barrier 1. It was tailing the winner, and he finished up going inside, but they finished up in the middle of the track. When they turned for home and the favourite did hang, they were already 3 to 4 off the fence, and the winner, when he did sprint, he went straight to the middle of the track, and they finished in the middle of the track. The second horse, as I say, well, it was off the fence coming to the turn. It went through and got second hole, and Radiator, who was back in second last position, it went in between runners, and it had every possible chance, beating 2.5. There were some runners, even though there was a 95, but it was no good. It was no good. By the same token, it was a good result for the Satchel Swingers. The captains, Satchel Swingers, whichever you want to call them, the captain cookies. The winner, it went from $9, 8 to 1, to $17 on my board when they jumped. $15 was taken at one stage. You could lay it at $15, but then at the finish, when the favourite was laid on, it was bookies reached, and these were the SP. This is how they actually started. $1.70 on my board, the favourite Sorolina, $17 Megiddo, Jebelitz, $19 given, started 16. Coins started $9. Anito, after $12 given, it started $11. It blew from $5.50 or $6 out to that price back in. Radiator, it went from $6 out to $8, back into $7. Tennessee Love was 20 out to 50, back into 40, back out to 50. Did lay 10,200, started 40 to 1. But the winner, it was a very good result for the captains. That's about all I'd say. The Who's tomorrow are on at Wyong, and then again Wyong, we've got to do it on the Wyong Cup, Thursday, Friday, I don't know, because we have the Chelmsford Stakes meeting at Warwick Farm on Saturday. Anyway, we've got the 4 in a row. I'll try and do a preview for each meeting. I don't know how I'm going to drive up to Wyong, drive to Wyong, back home, drive to Wyong, back home, do the format, and then out to Warwick Farm for Saturday. Anyway, best of luck, stay healthy, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.